A tragic reminder tonight of how reckless tourism is turning fatal. In Goa's Assagao area, a speeding rented Thar rammed into a Hyundai 120, killing 65-year-old tourist Bhagat Ram Sharma. He was traveling with his family when the crash occurred. The two others were injured while a 5-month-old infant escaped unharmed. Eyewitnesses allege that the Thar occupants attempted seat swapping after crash. Police have seized the vehicle, registered a case of rash and negligent driving causing death, and are verifying CCTV footage and viral videos to identify who was driving. Now, Goa today is facing unprecedented tourist pressure. In 2025 alone, the state recorded a record 10.8 million tourists, including over 1 crore domestic visitors and more than 5 lakh foreign tourists. In just the first half of the year, over 54 lakh people visited the state. With this scale of influx, the strain on roads, policing and civic safety is immense. The fatal crash is not an isolated case. Over the past year, multiple incidents have seen tourists booked for harassment, drunk driving, assault, drug possession, reckless driving and attempts to flee accident scenes. From beaches to party belts, police have repeatedly stepped in, especially during peak seasons, to control unruly behavior linked to rented vehicles and alcohol consumption. Viewers, the question is no longer about tourism alone. Goa welcomes visitors, but lawlessness cannot come with a holiday package. When tourists treat roads like racetracks and accountability like inconvenience, innocent lives are lost. Tonight, the conversation is simple. Are irresponsible tourists becoming a public safety threat? And who is responsible for stopping brats on wheels? So my questions are, one, what explains absence of responsible tourism in Goa? Do you think there is lack of regulation when it comes to tourism? And how does it affect Goans at large? Let me straight away go to Savio Rodriguez, a founder, editor-in-chief of Goa Chronicle. Savio, where is the responsible tourist?
Well, you see, Karthikeyan, let me give you my own personal example. About 30 minutes ago, prior to this discussion you and I are having, there was a tourist car, again, a red color Thar, that hit the car of my wife at the Orosim beach road that we were at. And as usual, it was really reckless driving, and unfortunately, that is the sad aspect of the tourists, some of the tourists, not all of them, that come to Goa. And as Goans, we love tourists coming to Goa. We appreciate tourists coming to Goa, and we feel that they are a part of our same family. But the problem is that responsible tourism, that responsibility of the tourist is also required. Like I mentioned to you earlier when we were discussing, the internal roads in Goa are very small, and you have a lot of these tourists that come in, they bring their big cars, they think they can speed like they do in cities. It's not the same. The roads are not the same. The internal roads in Goa are extremely small. So you've got to drive responsibly. You've got to drive with some level of, what I would call important, way of understanding the psyche of the people on the road in Goa. It's not the same. I think why you're seeing an increase in accidents is because people are not able to respect this aspect of tourism in Goa, where you have people who come with their big cars. They think they can go to the beach and drive on the beach with the car, then their cars get stuck. Numerous incidents like that. Then you have people who dance on top of their cars, who stand on top of their cars, who are drunk sometimes, in their tourism abandon that they come with. And I think that's terrible. I think that's not the kind of tourist Goa requires. And I think the tourists who want to come to Goa and are responsible tourists, which many are, must understand that Goa requires responsible tourists and not tourists with a chalta hai attitude.
You know, Savio, over tourism, unregulated tourism, rowdy tourism killed Manali. Is that happening to Goa?
Well, there's a lot of tourism coming into Goa, but there's a lot of tourists that come in. They come with a very different mindset, Kartikeya. The mindset is that I'm going to go to Goa. It's my paradise. I will do whatever I want in Goa. I can do whatever I want. The people of Goa are easygoing. They normally don't raise much ruckus. But in recent times, the Goans are getting upset about it. And they are raising issues now. That is why there's so much of conflict between the Goans and the non-Goans arising, between the Goans and the tourists arising. Why is that happening? That is happening because we as Goans are realizing that the sensibility of some of the tourists do not match with the sensibilities of what the Goan expects of a tourist. And we believe that most of these tourists that come in with that kind of chalta hai attitude do not respect Goa. And
but Savio, if you recall, when we had the discussion of that nightclub which got burnt, and you took a very strong position on that. But where is the police and regulators? For example, it's very easy to get a scooter. I have done it. Car, scooter, motorcycle, and then you can roam around cheaply. But this is part and parcel of that convenience. This is like a convenience misused. You will not get to do this in any other state.
So while all the facilities like hiring cars and bikes and all are made easy because that's what we want the tourists to come here and enjoy. I am saying the certain amount of responsibility that comes individually must also come in, right? Yes. So today, let's assume you are having people, prior to the law that we brought in on the beaches, there were people that were roaming the beaches with beer bottles, and they would throw those beer bottles on the beach itself. And there are so many people, tourists and non-tourists, that walk the beaches, would eventually get cut by those broken bottles that are there. So tourism, today Goa is a part of India. Yes. The Indian tourist coming into Goa is equally responsible as me as a Goan and any other Goan, right? So I'm only saying today as a Goan, we want tourists coming into Goa to be responsible.
Absolutely.
This accident that happened, it happened because of irresponsibility.
And before I close the show, I hope you and your wife were fine, after that accident you had before you came to my show.
Well, it was a minor one. I scolded the kid. He's an Indian kid who came from Hong Kong. I scolded him and I told him, this is ridiculous driving, He was afraid of this length of the road. That's precisely what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because when you're driving in Delhi and other places, Kartikeya, the roads are different.
I know what you're telling me. I know I was in Salem a couple of years ago, and that's what I did. I had a scooty, and we went through North and South Goa on a scooty. Very ambitious, but I know the roads are very, very small. You go to the interior, the roads are even smaller. But I'm happy that you are fine, and thank you for despite the accident coming to my show, because I certainly believe what Goa really requires, apart from regulation, is a responsible tourist, a tourist that respects Goa and Goans. Thank you, Savio.